Welcome, everybody, to another episode of The Truth. Alongside me for this beautiful journey again is Tiffany Michelle.
Hey, everyone.
And Letitia Etienne.
Greetings.
And over to my left is Nikita J.
Hey, y'all. Hey.
And beside me over here is Angelina Serrano.
Hey, everyone.
And I'm Danielle K. Grant. Today, we're going to talk about, girl, you better love yourself. And to start us off with our fire topic is Nikita J. Come on, girl, give it to us.
Hey. So today's topic, we're talking about rising from shame. And as many people know, I shouldn't say recently because Angelina already yelled at me about this, but I came back to church about 4 years ago, so I had this long period where I was out of church. And during that time frame, I had been into things. I'm not going to get into it.
Because I was going to ask.
No. We do not have the time. But, when I came back, I was carrying such a shameful weight on my shoulders. I found myself unable to hold my head up high when I came to church. And I mean, listen, I had been prayed up, prayed down, prayed through, prayed left, you name it, right? But nothing worked, right? Nothing worked. And I remember one service where one of the sisters came up to me and she said, Jesus has already forgiven you. Why haven't you forgiven yourself?
Wow, that's so powerful.
Yeah, it really was like a light bulb. It was like, ding. It was like, oh, that's what's happening. And it wasn't until I addressed, the things that I'd gone through and say, you know what, Jesus, this is yours. I gave it to him. This is what it is. You know what, you took it. You forgave me for it. I don't need to keep carrying this. Then I found myself able to sort of be more involved in church. I was able to walk in church with like a little pep and step, like this is where I belong. And what the Lord did was he took me out of that dirt that I was in the muddy, muddy dirt, and he cleaned me up, and now I'm shiny new, and I'm a whole co-host because God is so good.
Won't he do it?
Won't he do it?
That's awesome.
Yeah, that stands out though because you're talking about, someone who, the term backslid, right? Backslid from church. Do you think that it's a different experience when someone backslids and so they spend some time away from the house of God versus you're in church, you're an active member, and then you a mistake happens? You feel like it's a different type of shame?
I don't think so because we all have the same Holy Ghost, so you would think that we'd all would be treated the same way. I don't.
But when you're out of church, you're kind of like, your mind isn't on the things of God, so you kind of don't see it as bad. Like at your core, you're probably like, okay, I know this is wrong, but you don't have that strong conviction because you're not actively.
I don't know about that because
I don't know. That's what I'm asking. So,
that's a good
point.
I don't know about that because there were some things that I did was like, oh man, I was like, I shouldn't be doing this, and because I'm raised in church, I'm born and raised here, so I'm like, you shouldn't be doing that. My biggest thing was a tattoo. I swear, when I got my tattoo, I thought I was gonna go to hell. Like, no, I'm dead serious. Like, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get this tattoo. No, I went home. After I got, I was excited when I went with my friends. When I got home, I don't know, something just hit me, and I was like, I'm about to go to hell. And I found myself like, almost flipping out, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go to hell. And I didn't want to call my own pastor. Remember, I hadn't been in church in years. I'm not gonna call Pastor Mac. So I was like, I'm gonna call somebody else who's UPC that I know is gonna give me the truth. And he was like, he sort of talked me through it. But I definitely thought, like, I think there's certain things that you do when you're out of church that you shouldn't be doing, and there's gonna be a crazy conviction, and you shouldn't be doing it for sure.
That's good insight. That's good insight.
Yeah.
But Angelina, you mentioned about, I guess different phases of being backslidden, but some people are in the church and they are backslidden. They're coming every Sunday,
right?
They run around, they're doing what they're doing, but their mind
and their hearts are
they're already out.
Right.
They're
that's so good.
out.
And that's where it starts.
It's you have to. It's a daily thing.
Right.
It's a daily thing. Something that you have to do. A self audit. Where am I?
That's so good.
And sometimes I even ask God, okay, Lord, where am I in my walk?
Right. And I think I realized, like, you guys laughed at me when I said it like this, but I'm going to say it especially for you. Okay? I'm going to say the story, everyone. And I'm going to say it exactly how I said it because I want to bother you today.
Go for it.
So I was talking to my mom. I call my mom Mama.
Stop it.
And she laughs, but that's what I call my mom, Mama. So when you mentioned that, like, about forgiving yourself, like, I felt like there's little things, like I feel like I'm the type of person that I'm kind of really hard on myself because I have high expectations for myself. And I was telling my mom, I was like, Mama, like I just feel like, you know, there's all these things that whatever happens, whatever the situation was, and I was like, and she's like, you know what, it's good to have standards for yourself and it's good to have, you know, godly convictions, but if you have that, you can just get stuck in that place of shame, because then the minute you feel like you did something wrong, you just want to run and hide from God instead of being embraced by God. So I think it's so powerful that you mentioned that, like, it really takes for us to kind of like self-audit. I hate audits at work, by the way. But self-audit and really say, like, I need to remove this from myself. Like, sometimes we're carrying things and God's like, girl, that's been done. That's at the end, at the bottom of the river.
First of all, stop calling your mama, Mama. You sound like 5, but
Mama y Papa. That's it.
But you know, I think again, and this is the reason why we're on this platform, is to really to dispel some of these notions that we have, because one can be out of church and one can be in church and still carrying that level of shame. And so we're going to have to begin to, like you said, audit. Where am I? Because you can be in there and backslidden, been there and done that, right? But what the standard says, because you're out there, you're looked at differently.
Right.
But I can be in there doing the exact same thing
And nobody knows.
and nobody knows. And so it's time for us to take inventory of what shame really is. Shame is shame right across the board. And so we're going to be right back.
Welcome back to The Truth. And as we mentioned earlier, today's show is called Girl, You Better Love Yourself. So guess what? Today we're about to unfold some napkins. And I know you're probably like, what are you talking about? But think about it. When a napkin is folded, it looks perfect. You can't see any of its imperfections. But when you unfold it, you can see all the wrinkles and all the fold lines, maybe a couple of stains, some holes, right? So today, that's what we're going to undo. We're going to uncover the pain, hurt, and shame that we've been through. So listen, go get you a cup of tea and some tissue. It's about to get real. So we're going to open up and just get right into it and start talking about parental issues.
Parental issues.
That's deep.
I mean, me personally, I know that, you know, your parents can either tear you down or build up your self-esteem.
Right.
And for me personally, with my relationship with my father, that's all he did was tear down my self-esteem. I can remember so many days where I would run to the top of the street like, yes, my daddy's coming. And he sees me and I'm flailing my arms and I'm yelling and screaming. And this man would just drive right past me, right? And I would think to myself, how can this person who claims that you love me, right, drive past me and not acknowledge me? And it really had me questioning my self-worth. I'm thinking, I don't mean anything. I can't, right? And I carried that sort of feeling with me throughout my entire childhood into adulthood. And even to this day, whenever I get like compliments or, you know, someone's encouraging me, I'm like, you know, do you really mean it? Because how can I take this information from Susie when my own father never ever told me these things, you know? And I mean, I'm just like, I would love to hear if someone else has any other positive experience with their parents, because I know for me and my dad, that was that.
Well, I think even before we step into the positive, you're not the only one that feels that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, you know, the one person, like we see our parents, they're supposed to give us like security and stability and safety. Those are the 3 things that, you know, you hope to get from a parent. So when you don't get that, it's almost like, if that one person that was supposed to, that was almost like mandated to do so, can't do that, then what says that someone else is going to do it? So I think that that's true. And I think that, you know, daddy issues are real.
They are real. And I'm literally like, my eyes are welling up because I know exactly what you're saying. Because I didn't grow up with my father. I used to just talk to him on the phone. And when he would come for vacations, I thought, all right, I am daddy's girl. I'm going to be daddy's girl, and I have my father. But when he came, he was just, he never gave me any attention. most of the times it was just with his friends. He was like, well, come to where I am and I will be there, and then he'll be gone. And then by the time I wake up, it's time to go to school. And then before you know it, his trip is over, he's gone. And that was it. And I thought that I was loved because, you know, when you talk to him on the phone, it was kind of like, hey, you know, he will say I love you or whatever. But then when you're actually there, you didn't get that embrace, you didn't get that kiss, you didn't get that hug. And I felt some type of way, and I carried that too throughout my childhood, where I just felt like, you know, relationships, you try to go into a relationship to kind of fulfill the void that daddy's supposed to provide, and then people look at you and call you names, you know, but internally you're just seeking and yearning for something. So I get that, and it's painful, and I have to learn over time to just kind of just let that go. You know, I'm 30 plus, you know, I'm a woman of a certain age, but you know, sometimes the pain is still there, and you still feel that when Father's Day come around, you're like, should I call? What am I gonna really say? And
I still want to feel, like you still want to fight for that relationship, even if you know that it's not.
Yeah, and I've tried over the years to fight for it, but I find that it's not in our best interest. Let's say that, and it just let it go, and it hurts, because you're talking about now being a Christian, and then okay, I'm supposed to do the Christian thing, but at the same time, the pain is real.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I'd have to say, my life hasn't been a crystal staircase, number one, but I've had a lot of good experiences with my father.
That's
I know
great.
you asking for positive experiences. We've had some bad, but overall, he's been like the person that I can go to talk to about anything.
That's great, girl.
And
That's so great.
I wouldn't look. Let me not say anything, but but a good majority of things that I'm able to go to him and be like, "Hey, Dad, you know, like this is what's going on," and he just lets me feel what I need to feel at the time, and then we talk it through, and then we move forward. And I've been really appreciative of that. And like looking back,
Sorry. Do you feel like you could talk to your dad about like relationship stuff?
yes
Or is
and
it
no.
like awkward?
It's a little awkward. I have spoken to him about certain things in the past. Some things I just won't go there. But we have spoken about some relationships in the past. I remember I was dating a guy, and my father let me go through the whole thing, and at the end I was like, it was bad. And he was like, well, you know, I didn't like him, but I wanted you to make your decision. And I was like, well, no, next time you tell me, because you have an insight that I don't see. So next time you let me know. So, yeah.
That's
I'm gonna need a tissue for real. Hold on.
but that's great that you have that experience, and I think that sometimes, although that's a positive experience, like a lot of people think that you can only have daddy issues if you don't have your dad in your life. But it could be the opposite. You can, and I think, I don't know why, and maybe it's just because it's my experience, but I feel like it's a bit more painful when the person's there and not doing what they're thinking to do. You know what I mean? Because I love my dad. I think I have a great dad. I do. But I think that people can give something they don't have. You know, so I think that obviously, like, there's a season in your life when you're little and you kind of see your parents as superheroes, and you're like, they're like superhuman, like they're not flawed. And then there comes a time, and I saw this posted somewhere, and someone was like, when did you realize that your parents were human? And I was like, I was 14. And it really hits you because you're like, wait, they have trauma, they have issues, and they're doing the best they can. And there's been a lot of like emotional stuff that I feel like there's been a disconnect. And I don't think it's that, I want to think that it's not that he didn't want to, but
he didn't know how.
But that he just doesn't know how. And I'm a super sensitive person. So the best way that I've been able to cope with it is just like, I just need to like empathize with it. Because if I...
All right.
I know. If I dig into that which I have, I'm a mess. Like, I can't, I don't know if I can handle it. So the best way I can handle is just like, you know what? People can give what they don't have. And I know that might not be the perfect formula, but it's working for me.
I'm gonna have to not the empathy part, and maybe it's because I'm a parent now. And don't look at me wrong, because this is just my truth. I lack empathy there to say that you can only give, you know, what you have or what you just said, whatever you just said. But when I think about it, when I was pregnant and my daughter came out, growing up not hearing "I love you" and you're great, or you're gonna be all that, not hearing those affirmations, and growing up with that pain and that agony, I did. And when my baby came out, and that baby came up here, that's where they put them, a burst of love that I thought I never had came out. And I made up in my mind that I'm not going to repeat what my parents did. I'm going to give to my child. I don't care where I have to find it, where I have to go get it, but I'm not going to repeat the same cycle. And so I know I have to be empathetic to mommy. I know I have to be empathetic to daddy. But guess what? When that baby comes, oh my goodness, like everything has to change. And so I personally refused that, you know what? I'm going to tell my children I love them.
Absolutely.
Even if I don't feel love.
And empathy doesn't mean acceptance.
I get it. But in this time, I'm like, I can't do that. I have to tell my children I love them. I have to validate them. I have to let them know, listen, you're gonna be anything that you wanna be. And so I had to break that cycle. And so I think about that. And some of the parents, we're talking, and some of these parents from the Caribbean, I know so many children who did not get that, and to this day, and they're trying their best to give to their children now in this culture, in this generation, and they didn't get it, but they're forcing themselves really to just give their daughters and their sons love. So I can't fully empathize.
Which makes sense. Yeah. It makes sense.
And you were saying that when you had the baby and you put the baby on you, but you carried that child, and the father didn't. So it could be a different dynamic for them that they don't understand. They don't know how to show that love.
That's a good point.
That's a different perspective.
Definitely a good point, but I'm not agreeing with. I don't agree with it either. She's like, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's just because
that's Team Daddy.
Obviously, right.
She has a totally different perspective.
Exactly.
No, but I hear you. But that could be it.
Yeah. I'm sorry. No, I definitely. I'm on Danny's side.
I need a tissue.
Definitely on Danny's side. Again, being a parent, you look at things differently. Like how can you? Like it's impossible. I know for me it wasn't so much of a love thing because my mom used to tell me she loved me all the time. My dad, whatever. Yeah. But for me, I didn't hear, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I make a point. Whenever I make a mistake, and whenever mommy does something wrong, I take those kids, guess what? You know what? I was wrong. I should have done A, B, and C.
Right.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have taken this out on you because my kids will be able to say, I've heard my mom genuinely apologize to me. And my mom, I know my mom is flawed, like you said. I know she's not perfect. She's human. So I'm on the side.
And I think that too. And I think it's part of the experience because we're not parents. You know that it's kind of like I get that, but also I don't think empathy means acceptance. I'm making my mind up to be like, I don't want this to be my experience. So much so that I'm like, the day I get married, I need to make sure that this person is gonna be an active father. And I think when we're talking about Caribbean stuff, like a lot of times it's like, well, if you bring food to the table, then you're dad of the year.
Right.
When it's like, no, especially us, I don't know, especially us women, we long for that emotional connection with a father.
Right.
And that's why there's a lot of like promiscuity and there's a lot of like, younger girls like older guys and like all these different dynamics because you're like, I just need to feel that warmth of a man, that safety we were talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Those arms, girl. Yes.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
You need to feel safe.
One thing you were saying that I thought was interesting. You said that you didn't hear "I'm sorry," and that's why you tell your children that. I don't know about West Indians, but I don't know about you, but my experience is that with West Indian parents, they don't say I'm sorry. What they do is that they give you food. They're like, oh, you ready to eat? That's the apology. They can yell at you, and then they cannot talk to you, and then, oh, you hungry? There's food in the kitchen. I'm like, no, I don't want your food. I want an apology.
Or they become, or a lot of parents, they become the victim and the perpetrator.
All the
good one.
You did something, right? I thank God for my mom. I don't have this experience.
Don't say my mom.
My mom. I don't have this experience. My mom's like how you said. She made up her mind. She's like, I'm changing.
I'm
things.
changing it.
Things.
Changing
Thank
it.
God she
Yeah,
did it.
yeah.
Right.
But I've observed a lot of parents is like, oh, well, I did this to you because, well, you don't treat me right. You're going to forget about me when you get older. And it's like, please don't shame your kids
Exactly.
for doing things like that.
Exactly.
You know, so.
Yeah, I had to learn to say I'm sorry too. You know, sometimes, you know, my son is a mama's boy. And
so
sometimes,
cute.
you know, listen, and my voice goes a little bit high, and then he will say, "Mommy, you're a little bit loud," and I have to go in and I said, "You know what, son, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry." And I tell him, "But you know, I need you to listen. I need you to
Right.
follow direction."
Right.
But I do apologize to him. So, man.
And Tisha, yeah,
I
go
feel
ahead,
like just,
Tisha.
yes, go for it.
My story is a little different. Having lost my father at a young age,
yes.
it's like you grow up, you know, literally looking for that father
Wow.
figure.
Yep.
And I was a daddy's girl. But, you know, it was like all you have now
Yep.
are memories, pictures,
Yeah.
stories
Wow.
that
Right.
people tell you.
Wow.
You know, it was like I was like that country song, looking for love in all the wrong
All the
places.
wrong places.
You know, so
Yes.
even just the absence, you know, of a father just creates so many issues.
Right.
Yeah.
Growing up,
That's good.
and if you're not in a environment where you can deal with stuff in a healthy manner, you know, it just manifests itself just
Yeah,
all
that's
kinds of
a good
ways.
point. And it's absolutely normal. But I think I think we've all made the point that it's so connected to our self-esteem
Right.
Yes.
and to the way that we
Absolutely.
define ourselves. And,
Absolutely.
you know, I want to talk a little bit about how we see ourselves and how we define beauty. Because I think that, you know, we live in a world where it's like, today this is beautiful, tomorrow this is the ugliest thing, right? And that, first off, that's a lot to keep up with.
It's a whole lot to keep
That's
up
right.
with.
Speak for yourself.
I'm sorry.
I'm with it.
I'm sorry.
Just kidding.
Not with Nikita Jen.
Not with Nikita. Never mind. You can go now. You're done. But, you know, it's a lot. And I think that it's so troubling to try to define beauty in society.
Yeah.
First off, because what we as a woman of God define beautiful is not what the world sees as beautiful, right? And then also everything's always changing, and what was once seen as beautiful isn't beautiful, and vice versa. So I think my question is, we hear this a lot, but let's really like explore this. Is character what stands out versus outside beauty?
I mean, it should, right? But the reality is, like you stated, it doesn't.
Right.
I think when you first see someone, it's kind of like their beauty captivates you, but their attitude may stink, and then you don't think that they're beautiful anymore.
Right.
So I really think it's what's inside, because you may see someone and, like, in your opinion, they're not all that,
Right.
but
Right.
their internal beauty shines so bright that they're gorgeous, and you want to be around them all the time, and people see them as beautiful because their inside outweighs their outside.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
All right.
Oh boy.
She's gonna
Brace yourself.
because this is her mission statement. I feel like every conversation she's like, all right, let me tell you, there's some people
That are not.
Because
Okay?
we're talking about the truth here. Because we say in the church that we are fearfully and we're wonderfully made.
Yes. Yep.
But at the same time, we don't fully believe that, especially when we're dealing with our sisters. Let's be truthful. Because we also carry the world's mentality
Absolutely.
of what beauty is. And so when we see that girl who's not necessarily facially attractive, we don't call her pretty. We quickly go for her shoes or her dress or her hairdo that day, and never about, girl, you look pretty today. We don't define beauty as we like to do it where we're supposed to do it in the church. We go to the world standard.
Right.
And that is that is the truth. I've done it so many
Give us an
times.
example.
Give us an
You
example.
just did it to me just now. I said, Nikita, I love that dress.
Right.
It's the truth.
And now I'm questioning anytime she said that I'm pretty.
So beauty, you know, the Bible talks about again, we're fearfully and we're wonderfully made, but we do not classify each other like that. We really don't.
We
We
don't.
go for the external. and again, you're trying to be nice, Tiffany,
It's
Michelle.
the truth.
But we don't do that. We really, really don't do that. Oftentimes, we don't tell a girl that she's pretty if she's facially challenged. We don't. It's our truth.
I don't even know if we go on. I don't know.
She said facially.
Facially challenged.
All right, I'm not gonna leave her by herself. I'm guilty of doing
Okay,
it.
thank you.
I'm guilty.
Okay.
I'm guilty of doing it. I'm guilty.
Wait.
Listen,
You know,
I'm not mad she said it, but I'm actually said it professionally.
She was
When
trying to be
someone is
nice.
facially challenged.
I don't know how else to say. Because I want to call somebody ugly. I don't
No,
call
you don't.
somebody
You're right.
ugly.
You're right. You're right.
And I think that's why we do it, because you're like,
Yes.
okay, you know what? She doesn't look that great, but girl, them shoes.
Them shoes.
Yes. So then you go ahead and you give her that compliment.
We do that. We do
We
that.
do
And I
that.
think you called it out, and I was like, that's so true. Like, I'll be like, hey, girl, I like your dress.
Yeah.
Your dress.
And that's it.
And that's it.
But you
It's
guys,
the truth,
you guys
though.
are making me feel a little self-conscious. I can't. I feel like I can't compliment people because I use pretty and beautiful interchangeably.
Same.
They mean the
Me
same
too, me
thing.
too. I
to
call
me.
everybody
too.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
They
Everybody's
mean
gorgeous.
the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
They should mean the same thing.
They don't.
But I think
think
you're
they
right. I
do.
think our paradigm is so shift
Yeah.
to be conditioned to what this world calls beautiful.
Yeah.
Because it's like, why do we accept when someone says something negative versus when someone says something positive? And it's because the external world is so much bigger than our internal confidence,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly.
Like, I grew up with two sisters.
Yep.
And we're all close in age. My older sister's 2 years older than me, and my younger sister's a year younger than me. And I felt like a lot of times growing up, and I've shared this with you guys, like, I felt like we were constantly compared.
Yep.
And
you
first
go.
off,
Yep.
the adults that compared children,
There you go.
like, you're toxic because you're a whole grown person.
Yep.
Don't talk to kids like
Okay.
that. But no, seriously,
It's
like,
the truth.
you're telling kids things like if they're adults and they're kids, like
Yeah.
let people
Right.
grow into their looks and
Yep.
appreciation.
Right, right.
But second, I felt like I was a bit thicker than my sisters.
Thickums.
Yeah, just a little.
Thickums.
It's in style
And,
now, though.
huh?
I say it's in style
Thick
now,
as
though.
thick.
It's in style. It's in style. That's another conversation. 'Cause I'm
Back in
like,
the day, it
back
wasn't,
then,
okay?
back then it was shameful. Now they're like, oh my God, you're thick. And it's like, no, I'm being honest. But a lot of people would kind of say like, oh, well, she's pretty, but she just has to lose weight a little bit. And then it's like, first off, now you're creating like this as a child when
Yep.
you're 10.
Yep.
Now
Yep.
you're creating this competition with your siblings.
Right.
Yeah.
One, two. This is where negative self-image comes in. Because how many times have someone told you, oh, you look so pretty, you lost weight, but you have this image of how you look in your head,
Exactly.
Right.
and it overpowers what other people are saying. And I have to catch myself because there's times that people are like, oh my God, you look so pretty, or you're pretty, and I'm like, I see this little 10-year-old with some chubby cheeks, and that's all I see, and that's just my truth.
It's just the truth.
So I think that although I want to be focused on like what's inside, like that, those outside factors are strong.
They are strong. Yep.
I have a similar experience.
Talk
I'm
about it,
also a
sis.
middle child, and I, we'll talk about colorism another day.
I was
Yeah.
about to
But
say, you
black
gotta do the light
another-
versus
Yes.
dark.
Oh,
In,
yes.
another
in
one.
my family, both of my sisters are lighter than me, and I'm the dark skinned one, and I was a chubby one. So hello. Okay.
But now
it
look
was
at us.
always the comparison, like,
Yeah.
oh, you guys, because me and my older sister, we really look alike, and everyone was like, oh yeah, you guys look alike, but she's more beautiful,
Yep.
or like things like that,
See,
because
like,
she was
that
lighter,
says
or
that.
because she's
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
and then I was chubbier, so it's always like, well,
Yep.
you got to work on that, and like it was always a topic of like family discussions and stuff like that, and it's like, okay, well, get it together, Tiffany, and it's like, really,
It happens.
Yeah, but also,
It happens.
and I know we talked about parent stuff, but we also have to address this, like adults in children's lives, like please build children up. They have enough
Positive.
naysayers.
Yep.
Bullying is way too prevalent for them to be bullied
In
at
our
home.
families, yes.
In our, like,
Yeah.
they're getting bullied at school. Don't let them come home and get bullied as well. That's
Right.
huge. That's a huge topic. And thankfully, sometimes we have parents that uplift us. Like, there's parents that is like, no, she's beautiful too. Like, she got it too.
She got it,
But a lot of times it becomes like this thing of like comparison and bullying. And then the kid feels like they can never be good enough because they're trying to work on something and then there's something else that comes up.
Right.
Yeah. And I want to bring it into the church before we even go for a break, is that sometimes there are attractive guys and there are some girls, again, who
Where?
are... Where? Oh,
my
like, we have none.
I said, neighbor.
touch your
Neighbor, where? I need to address it as a coaching.
but I want to show you that it's very prevalent because I mean I know many of us are trying to be nice about the subject, but in the church sometimes there's attractive guys and they look well together, and then those church mothers are looking for the pretty girl to match that girl, to match that guy, and if he ever starts looking, for a girl who may have internal beauty, they're gonna snap that back.
But just be happy he's looking in the church at this. You know what I mean?
But Angie, that should be the reality. But that is not the reality among us. And so we are gonna have to change the way that we define beauty in the church. It shouldn't depend on how the girl looks on the inside, on the outside. That's important. Right. I don't say that ain't important, but it's a whole package.
But you know what?
Yes.
Quickly, and this will be a topic for another day. We talked about this. That self-hate. That's where it is.
Yes.
Where it's like you gotta read. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but I'm trying to say it in English, but it's in Spanish in my head.
Say it in Spanish.
In Spanish, they say refina la raza. Like you gotta make the race look better. Like get somebody with straight hair so that the kids can look better or things like that. And that's what's happening.
It's in our church. It's in the church, and we need to stop it.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
We're gonna be right back with wonderful discussion.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Truth. Today we are talking about, girl, you better love yourself. And in this segment, we want to talk about how failure doesn't define us. I don't know about you, but if you've ever had an experience where you failed at something and you were just so crushed about it and it really, really damaged you, how did you respond to that? I see a quote here that I found online that said, in the end, it's not the failures that define us so much as how we respond. And if you fail and you give up, that means you have adopted the loser mentality. So it's really important that you change your mentality and rise from failure. I know I've had a previous experience. I was in grad school, ladies, and I was just doing way too much. I was trying to do the youth group. I was in a leadership position at work, and I had family things that were going on. I know my mother had just had a surgery, and I was trying to take care of her, trying to take care of myself, and trying to do this master's program at the same exact time. Wow. And it was just way too much. I ended up failing out of the program. And it, like we said, rising from shame. And it was really shameful. I remember not being able to tell anyone. I was embarrassed that I wasn't going to be with my class anymore. I didn't know how to tell them. I didn't really know how to tell anyone. But I reapplied to get back into the program. I got accepted back in, and I just persevered and finished the program.
You did that.
It was hard. It was very challenging, and it was stressful. It was embarrassing to see my classmates ahead of me and them knowing that I failed and having to face them. Wow. Because I've watched them talk about everyone else that failed. So just knowing that they were talking about me too. But you have to change your mentality. And it's not what people think about you, but it's how you think about yourself and how you're going to persevere and move forward. So ladies, have you had any experiences where you failed at something and you just didn't know how you were going to come back from it and how you came back from it?
First of all, congratulations.
Yes.
On finishing.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, you did awesome. I know you didn't get to walk, but you finished.
Thank you.
So that's awesome. Yes. Where do we
That's
begin?
like a topic we could be here all night because I think everybody has experienced shame and failure. So I think that happens.
Yeah, I mean, failure to me has become a teacher.
Yes.
And it's important for me to not be able to just stop myself because of a moment of failure. And that's what it is. It's a moment in time. It passes. You'll get over it.
You will.
You'll pick yourself back up. You'll dust yourself off. But just really, like you said, to look at it differently. You know, it's not the end. You know, and it's just a teacher. It's just a teacher, and maybe teaching you that one thing is not for you and this thing is for you.
Yes. Right.
So you move towards what's for you, and what's not for you, you put it to the side.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you said that failure is a teacher, and I'm also beginning to see it as thus. Before, I'll talk about it from a marital point of view. I remember when I was failing at marriage, and the stigma is that you stay in that failure. and nobody should know, and you dress well, and you come out of the house and you smile. Hi, everybody, praise the Lord. Wow. But deep down, there was this sense of, I don't even know if we're going to make it. Wow. And that shame and the expectation that others have. And they're telling you, you guys are a great couple and you guys are going to do great exploits and all these kind of things. But then deep down, we're failing. What saved us was the incredible love that we had for each other. That's what saved us. But there were times when it felt like it was not enough.
Yeah.
It was not enough. And we made up in our minds that, you know what, is either we're going to sink or we're going to fail, or we're going to reach out for help. Do we want this? Do we want this to work? Are we going to, we had to come to the point where we didn't want to live up to anybody's expectation of what we ought to be. We wanted to create our own love story. And because I felt like we were failing because people had all these expectations and we're failing their expectations. We're living beneath of what we were supposed to become. Right. And we had to come to the place where, all right, I know we love each other. I love you, and I know he loves me for sure. So what are we gonna do? And we came to the point where we had to reach out for help, and we got pastoral counseling, and began to work through so many of the layers that we had. And when we realized, when those things were uncovered, we realized that those things were past issues that we grew up in our childhood. We came from broken homes, broken families. People said all kinds of things about us, and we were carrying that, and we didn't unload in our dating process. And so we had to rise from failure by getting help. And so if you're watching and you may be in that situation where, you know what, your marriage is going under, you feel like you're going to fail, giving up is not an option. Exhaust all the possibilities. You don't have to fail. You really, really don't have to fail. Reach out for help. Anybody else felt like, you know, there are times in their lives, relationally, even parentally, you feel like I'm failing at this?
Yeah, definitely me. I mean, at first, I had my first daughter when I was like 21. So it's actually kind of not only failing as a parent, but also failing myself, because when I turned 21, I was like, oh man, you know, I had this baby, who I love, by the way, okay? Yeah. She's my twin. She is your twin. But it was like, at the time, I didn't have the money to give her what I wanted to give her. Right. You know, I didn't have the place that I wanted to get, wanted her to have her own room. I didn't have anything. You know, the relationship with her dad was not that great. Right. So it was like, as I looked at her cute little face, I'm like, I'm failing my child because I can't give her all that I know she deserves. So what I did was I tried, okay, all right, what can I do? What can I do? I tried to go into school. Let me tell y'all something.
Tell us, girl.
Let me tell y'all something. If you have a desire to go to school, please go directly after high school. Do not wait. Yeah. I mean, I know they always say it's never too late, but I'm telling you, it's so much harder when life hits you to actually move forward and try to actually get into school. It is so difficult. Yeah. So I tried, right? I tried to go to school. Who's going to watch my baby? Yep. You know, well, I have to work. I can't go to school and work because I have to, it's just a whole bunch of everything, right? Yeah. And then at the time, again, remember, I was not in church, so I was living with my daughter's dad. I'm like, okay, I have to be a mom. I have to be a girlfriend, right? Mm-hmm. I have to go to work. I have to go to school. I have all these responsibilities. It just did not work. So here I am, 35, trying to go to school. Yes, I hear them say that, you know, it's never too late, but I think it does get to a point where it's like, you wait a little bit too long. It's kind of like, it is so hard for me to actually focus, because now not only do I have one child, I've got two. Yeah. And now I have children. Now I have church stuff that I'm involved in. I have to talk to them. I have my work takes up a lot of time. I have even more responsibilities now. So listen, right after high school if you can. Don't wait.
Yeah. And if you're at that place, obviously, and I mean, everyone's trying to go back to school these days. But with all the responsibilities that we do have, take it one day at a time.
Yeah.
One day at a time. You know, Tiffany shared her story. You will finish.
Right.
It might take longer than others,
Yeah.
but you'll finish.
You will finish.
Yeah, and I think based on what you were talking about, Danielle, I think that when we attach a certain word to something, then it becomes a reality.
Yeah.
So if we call it like a failure, then it's like, okay, we're already speaking that it's gonna fail. But if we say like a lesson,
Yeah.
or if we say like the process or the journey,
That's my word.
we can shift trademark. we can shift our mind. If I'm seeing this instead of seeing this like, oh, it's a failure or it's gonna be, it's like failure has a lot to do with perspective, because
Yeah.
whose expectations are you actually really meeting?
Right.
Right? Like, okay, so school, like, am I meeting the school's expectation to get an A or my own expectations?
Right.
When a C will get me to pass.
Yeah.
Come on, somebody. You know, so it's kind of like, what are my whose expectations am I trying to meet? You said that about your marriage, like you were trying to meet other people's
Everybody's
expectations and you were failing them.
Yeah.
And it's like, what expectations did God put on your marriage and your relationship?
Yeah. Until we change that, then here we are. And I'm telling you, it's thriving. God is good. And so with that being said, I know that we said this, failure is not an option. Giving up is not an option. You can make it.
Right.
Just get up and try and try and try again.
Right.
You will get to your finish line. I started saying this the other day, and graduate from trusting the process to enduring your process.
Yeah.
You will get there. And to take us into our next segment is Letitia Etienne. Take us there, girl.
All right, ladies. So first, before I even get started, take a moment to pause and hug yourself. Do it. Hug yourself. Love yourself. We're talking about, girl, you better love yourself, right? And sometimes for you to love yourself, you have to set boundaries.
Yes.
So I created sort of I don't know what it is, a list, declarations of things that I'm going to no longer tolerate. So, ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So let's go. Let's get it.
Shut them down. Shut them down. Shut them down.
All right. I will no longer tolerate being made to feel less than. I will no longer tolerate being crippled by my past. I will no longer tolerate not holding myself accountable. The buck stops.
Right
with
here.
me.
All right.
Fuego.
I will no longer tolerate not being true to myself. I love that quote by Shakespeare, to thine old self be true. Be true to yourself, girl. If you can't be true to yourself, you can't be true to nobody.
That's the truth.
All right.
Tell them.
Okay. I will no longer tolerate being in an environment that does not foster growth and love. I will no longer tolerate people who are not for me. I will not tolerate not putting my all in because of fear of failure. I will no longer tolerate regretting things from my past. I will no longer tolerate not taking care of this body. And I will no longer tolerate getting caught up in all the social media, the politics, all the distractions in the world. I can't let it consume me. I gotta be focused. So ladies, what will you not tolerate?
All of the above. That was good.
She's like, that's a lot.
You spoke for all of us.
All of the above.
Wow, that was good.
Yeah, we have to set those boundaries, and I think it's very important to go further. You know, we talked about it earlier. You have to do that self-audit, that check-in with yourself. And you can't do that when you're constantly watching the news. You're constantly on social media. You're constantly doing whatever it is that floats your boat. You need to get yourself in a corner. I have a little corner.
Your time out.
Time out for me. Yes,
I need my personal time.
Yes, you need that personal time to just kind of sit and breathe and be quiet, away from husbands, families, friends.
That's so
Sometimes
true.
I even turn off the phone. It's like I don't want to hear anything for like 30 minutes or an hour, and sort of just take stock and be honest with yourself, that's not the time to say, well, you know, I'm doing this okay when you know you ain't.
Yeah.
You know, it's very important to just evaluate yourself on a consistent basis to see where you are and where you want to go.
I want to say, though, that's, first of all, those declarations were T-scribed. Anyway, one of the things I'm coming into nowadays is to say no. And I know sometimes no has a negative connotation. But I'm starting to say no to align myself with my own purpose. And far too long, it's nice to sacrifice and it's nice to give to people. And I do that consistently. But at the same time, I have to say no to other things that does not foster my growth or my progress. And I'm filling my time with everything that serves my purpose so that I can serve the larger audience. And saying no allows me to do that. Because if I continually say yes, then I don't get anything done. And even with my own children, that walking in the evenings is a priority. And they say, Mommy, Mommy, Mommy. I think I told you guys the story. Mommy, 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 I want to come. And I have to look at those brown eyes, those 6 brown eyes. And I have to say, no. This is mommy time. I have to refocus. I have to reacclimate myself and rejuvenate to serve them. And yes, and so no has become a standard for me these days.
That's good. I think it's a lot of it is quality over quantity.
Yes.
And we kind of get caught up in doing like, if I'm doing a line, if I feel like I'm doing a lot, that means that I'm successful and I'm not failing. That means that I'm a good person, that I'm needed, like all these things. But it's like, how much quality is going to everything that you're doing? And we're kind of like a cup, like in our soul, there's kind of like a cup. And if our cup is empty, then how are we going to pour into others?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. I refuse to pour from an empty cup.
You can.
I'm gonna take a sip.
I agree with you, ladies. I refuse to stretch myself thin to make everyone else happy. I am guilty for doing that in the past. Like, I would run around the world for everyone. They needed me, I was there. I'm like, okay, at 5:15, I gotta go grab this. 6 o'clock, I'm here. And I would fill my schedule up helping everyone else and thinking I was, you know, making everyone happy. And then inside I was suffering. I was like, I'm too busy. I don't have time for anything. And it was a couple years ago, I was like, no, this has to stop. This has got to stop. It's not benefiting them. It's not benefiting me because I'm doing it with attitude and I'm not happy. So I had to change that. And like, if I can do it, I can do it. If I can't, it's a no. I'm like, I'm unable to do it. And they like to ask you why. Because I said so. They're like, why can't you? Because I said so. That's it.
Yes. No explanation. Yes.
Right.
I think you said, so for me, I refuse to remain in an environment you said that doesn't foster growth and love. I think that's what you said.
Yes.
Absolutely, because for me, in my current situation, I'm like, it's stressing me out so much. It's causing me to, not to be myself. Like, I feel like I'm not myself. So today, right, I'm taking this opportunity to say, that's it. I'm not going to allow my environment to change me. I'm going to change my environment.
Exactly.
Yes.
You have the power to change your environment.
We're more powerful than we think.
There you go. We're more powerful than we think we are.
Absolutely.
I really hope that this is really sinking in for you as you're watching, and I really hope that you're taking inventory. We're going to be back with our inspirational segment. And in our closing today, I know we talked about so many issues. I want you to know that you're stronger than you think you are. You're more powerful than you think you are. You're more resilient than you think you are. Just hold on a little longer. You're going to make it. And truthfully, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. This has been
The Truth.
Until next time.
Bye.